We may have just gotten our first real look at what Diablo 4's expansion map actually is, because a leaked in-game world map could completely rewrite the Skovos Isles, and it might even hint at the second class for Lord of Hatred. Also this week, Tower hits beta on Monday with leaderboards, Path of Exile 2's temple economy drama got hotfixed into chaos, and then partially walked back, and a new StarCraft game is rumored to be the headline announcement for BlizzCon 2026. Plus, Witcher 3 DLC rumors, Wolfenstein 3 reportedly in the works, and why PC hardware prices may keep climbing thanks to the AI arms race. Hey folks, this is Rhykker, and I dig into ARPG and gaming news so that you can spend more time playing games. Timestamps below to skip ahead to different topics. But before we move on, a word from this video's sponsor, Boot.dev. Boot.dev has gamified learning to code. They've literally built an online programming course into a fun programming RPG. You gain XP, you complete quests, you level up, you earn achievements, and you can even rank on a global leaderboard, all while learning fully at your own pace. Boot.dev believes that the smartest way to learn to code is to ensure you're never bored. With this program, you'll learn the programming languages Python and Go. You're going to learn back-end web development from start to finish, and it's designed to get you to write a ton of code, since they believe that practice is the only way to really learn coding. Taking the Boot.dev course has actually inspired me to go and build a utility for my Dungeons & Dragons game for my players to use. Here's my dashboard. I'm level 12, working on chapter 7. Let's complete this lesson together. Our game needs to know if our player has an advantage, a disadvantage, or is evenly matched with the enemy. So if player power is greater than enemy defense, advantage equals true. Else if player power is equal to enemy defense, evenly matched equals true. Else disadvantage equals true. Let's test running that. We made a mistake because equals is actually equal, and there should be a colon after the else. Looks like the code is functional. Let's submit, and we got it. And if you ever find yourself struggling, you can consult with Boots, an AI bear wizard that's been trained in every lesson and can walk you through your issues. So if you're ever really stuck or you just want to compare your code to the instructor, there are solutions available for every challenge on the site. So click the link in the description box and use my code Rhykker to get 25% off your first year on the annual plan of Boot.dev. Starting with Diablo news, we got official confirmation that the tower launches into beta on Monday with patch 252, along with leaderboards. Interestingly, there is no balance patch that comes with this, just bug fixes. I was expecting a balance patch. Leaderboards are going to run in 2-week rounds throughout the rest of the season. That's also interesting, 2-week rounds. In the future, once the tower is no longer a beta feature, they'll be attaching some kind of rewards, likely titles or cosmetics or something for reaching either certain ranks or benchmarks. But outside of the tower, we're now 4 weeks into Season 11, and this has still been the best season of Diablo 4 yet. The Goblin event was a big success this season, and it hit at the right time. They didn't wait too late this time. That's something I'd forgotten to consider when talking about retention last week. Often these events hit when people are mostly already done with the season, and they don't really serve to bring people back. But if you have the event start before the time people are done with the season, well, then you can get them to play another week or so thanks to the event, and I think that's exactly what we saw here. Outside of that, people are still discovering new Sanctification outcomes, and by that I don't mean, like, there are new Sanctification outcomes emerging that no one has seen, but like individual people are getting Sanctification outcomes that they didn't think personally, were possible. Things like getting plus to all skills or plus to gem strength. So there's still little discoveries for folks. And it's always great to see someone's reaction the first time they realize that it's possible to get 5 GA items this season. Ultimately, Diablo 4 is in a state where it's able to deliver a great amount of fun for a set number of hours per season. Due to the rapid pace of progression, you can burn through those hours pretty quickly, and Sanctification, though, is able to tap into a form of late-game crafting that keeps the tail end of the journey a bit more interesting, delivering something that the game desperately needed. I hadn't realized how much we needed this until we had it. But ultimately, the big thing that Diablo 4 is still lacking at this point is some form of meaningful endgame progression, and it looks like that's what's coming with the expansion in April. Once we get that, then there really won't be much left to complain about. I mean, too many items drop. That's a major problem right now and has been burning me out on the season. Just the loot friction, not enough stash space, too much stuff dropping. Most of the time I'm spending is just sorting garbage. But that's going to be solved with the loot filter in the expansion. And I really hope the loot filter operates as an auto-salvage filter since we still need all the crafting materials. Now, something I've noticed, since players are playing longer this season in general, and they're pushing further, and they're getting more loot than ever before, I think a lot more players are now realizing that once you get your mythics, and once you're just drowning in loot, or once you're killing bosses in under 5 seconds, the magic of it all goes away. There's nothing left to get excited about, nothing left to chase. Making things easier and more accessible means you burn out on the game faster. Now, everyone wants the bar lowered to a state where they can reach it. But then once the bar continues to lower, that's when they realize the long-term harm. But again, I'm hopeful that Lord of Hatred will give us more to chase. The pace of the game has increased dramatically since launch in every way. Moment-to-moment gameplay as well as progression, and this has increasingly highlighted how much slower the Necromancer is compared to the other classes. That was by design, and maybe that was okay in a slower-paced game, right? Launch Diablo 4, it made sense that Necro's the slow class, but now I don't think it's a good idea to deliberately leave the Necro behind with regards to speed. Maybe it's time we give the Necro a proper mobility skill. Coming in Lord of Hatred, you know. Diablo 3's Blood Rush, that was a fantastic mobility skill for Necro. And it's not even just about being able to speedrun content faster, which is a big factor. Necro has pretty much season over season been behind the other classes when it comes to speedrunning T4 content, right? It has no trouble dealing the damage, but damage isn't an issue on T4 when you have sorcerers that are blitzing through multiple screens instantly while also doing all the damage. No, but that's not the only factor. It's also that most of the challenge in endgame now comes down to avoiding a million explosions. And if you can't move fast enough to dodge those explosions, then you cannot escape them. So mobility becomes essential for both speed farming and for pushing. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I got my updated top 10 builds for pushing the leaderboards, and Necro is in last place. Now, we do have signs of the updated skill tree being more transformative of skills, similar to Diablo 3 runes. We see this in the Lord of Hatred promotional material. Seems to be 2 sorcerers back-to-back casting Incinerate, and one of them clearly has been transformed from fire into a different element, like maybe lightning. Alternatively, it could be that sets are what's changing the element here. We know set items are coming in the form of items that we put inside of a talisman, so very different implementation of set items, but it's a way that avoids many of the issues set items have historically had. Now, we don't know what set items will do in Lord of Hatred, but transforming fire sorcerer skills into lightning could be one potential set effect. You know, that'd be cool. Maybe it's not even lightning, maybe it's arcane damage. Imagine the return of the Veer set that makes you an arcane wizard. But the single biggest complaint in Diablo 4 that we can finally get back to complaining about after bringing this up all the way back probably around Season 2. Where's Madame Black Dye, Blizzard? This is a dark fantasy game for edgelords, and you won't let me paint my drip in edgelord black? Really? I do wonder what the February mystery update's going to be. It may be the reveal of the second class coming with Lord of Hatred, which is likely to be some kind of wisdom-based caster, maybe a warlock or an oracle. More and more, I'm leaning into the whole light versus dark theory, with Skovos being the location of the first civilization where Inarius and Lilith hung out, and the special deluxe pre-order skins having that light and dark theme. And now, what appears to be a leaked in-game world map that German outlet GameStar somehow got their hands on. Hat tip to Silik from Wowhead for showing me this. We can see sort of like an evil hell-looking region on the Skovos Isles, so the Warlock theory is seeming more and more likely. If this map is legit, and it really looks legit, this would be a major retcon of the Skovos Isles, which previously looked like this on a map. Now, it's kind of what I expected though, given that they do have to somehow make it a contiguous region for us to travel across on horseback. And we know that the West Island is said to be volcanic, so that seems to correspond to Skartara, so maybe it's a little bit less hellish and demonic and more just volcano land, but hey. It still seems to fit that fiendish demonic theme. Also, Celestia over here is not something mentioned ever before in the lore as far as I'm aware, but that sure sounds like the home of the Paladins, and Skartara just has that menacing sound to it, right? Scar, yeah. So that's where the edgelord class is going to come from. But what do you folks think? Sound off in the comments. Now, in Path of Exile news, as a follow-up to last week's story about the questionable temple tactics that led to a complete upheaval of the league's economy, well, it turns out that right after I recorded that video, GGG implemented a hotfix that addressed the issue. A hotfix that was rather poorly received by the community. You see, the hotfix added diminishing returns to the modifier values applied by rooms, which nerfed top-end temple runs, the things that were making the rich get richer. But then they nerfed Huatulotli's Medallion, which was used to prevent destabilization of a room, to now only apply to tier 3 rooms. And then lastly, they basically swapped the bonuses from 2 room types, Golemworks and Spymaster. And the net result of this was basically that a lot of people's temple setups were now bricked into an unoptimal state. And it was now impossible to build the insane high-end temple layouts that were producing incredible amounts of income. But if you already had one of those perfect temples laid out, you could just keep running it. At a bit lower efficiency, but still better than what anyone else is getting. So for all those late to the party here, now impossible to benefit, with their temples now basically bricked while they were building towards the perfect setup, while those, again, who had already set up their temple perfectly could keep benefiting. Overall, it was a rather extreme balance hotfix so late into a league. Then came another hotfix on Saturday, which reduced the number of destabilized rooms when the temple is closed by 30%. Seems like that would help, right? We nerfed the Medallion to only apply to rank 3 rooms. Now we're just having fewer rooms destabilized, so that should help. Well, not nearly enough to make a difference. The impact of the Medallion nerf really meant that players could not properly lock their temple layouts anymore, and they were just losing tons of progress that took a long time to build up, even with the Saturday hotfix. There was just no way to reliably build a good temple setup anymore, not like we had done earlier in the week. Overall, players were just becoming confused by the direction of the changes to the temple since launch. Buffs and nerfs and buffs and nerfs. Some people started to call for a complete reset of everyone's temples in order to just kind of zero things out, ensure fairness, everyone rebuilds their temples from scratch. But that will likely make a lot of players just quit the league outright. You know, you can invest hours and hours, dozens of hours into building your temple. Imagine you log in one day and it's just reset. Now, this all culminated with a Sunday hotfix that reverted the nerf to the Medallion. So now it was no longer restricted to only tier 3 rooms. Went back to working as it usually used to work, allowing you to lock your temple to stop it from breaking down. So now people can once again safely build towards a very powerful temple setup. So altogether, happy ending. The diminishing returns implemented in the Friday hotfix made the absolute top-end temples less broken, and the Sunday hotfix allowed players to at least still keep building towards this ideal setup. Sure, no one's going to be able to catch up to all the players who made all their currency early on, but at least the masses are not completely locked out of even mimicking this strategy anymore. Now, the one sad thing is, we've had like a record of hotfixes this league. I think we're up to like 23, and none of those have given us a simple way to reset our temples. You'd think this was more important than ever to implement when they started messing around with everyone's temples, right? Like swapping what 2 rooms do. Like, you don't let us reset things? Now, coincidentally, around the same time this was all happening, former GGG lead Chris Wilson posted a video to his personal YouTube channel called Protecting Your Online RPG's Economic Integrity, which many in the community immediately read as Wilson taking shots at his former colleagues. And at first blush, it seemed like this video was made in response to the temple shenanigans disrupting the economy of PoE 2, but if you watch the video, you'll see that this was just an unfortunate coincidence. The video is about dealing with cheaters and hackers and exploiters and does not in any way appear like a drive-by on GGG. Always a great and insightful video to watch, though. Now, the biggest news of the week for me is that a new StarCraft game may be headlining BlizzCon 2026 in September. As per Windows Central's Jez Corden, the StarCraft third-person shooter that industry insider Jason Schreier previously confirmed to be in the works will be the star announcement this coming BlizzCon. Dan Hay, the executive producer of the Far Cry series, who joined Blizzard in 2022, is said to be leading the open-world shooter. Jez Corden also believes that a third Diablo 4 expansion will be revealed at BlizzCon, and thinks it's possible the rumored Overwatch or Warcraft mobile games may be revealed as well. Now, this will be the third time Blizzard tries to make a StarCraft shooter. Fingers crossed, I think third time's the charm. They had StarCraft Ghost was the first one way back in the day. They publicly revealed that, did a lot of promotion for it, and that fizzled out, got canceled. So then there was the never revealed StarCraft shooter, Project Ares. That was canceled in 2019. But we know back in 2022 when Microsoft was acquiring Activision Blizzard, Xbox boss Phil Spencer expressed interest in the StarCraft franchise. So we all knew something would be coming eventually. StarCraft was among my first gaming loves, right there alongside Diablo. I was over the moon when StarCraft 2 was announced. And while shooters are not really my jam, not anymore at least, I was like way into like arena shooters back in the day, Unreal Tournament, Quake 3, all that. If we could get like a Helldivers 2 style StarCraft game, I would love that. Something like Space Marine 2 or Vermintide would also be cool, but Helldivers really is the perfect formula for this kind of game, both for players and for Blizzard, right? You got seasonal content with narrative arcs, you got ongoing monetization, right? They can sell us all the skins and stuff. And we got this like multi-faction interplanetary conflict. Now we know that Korean publisher Nexon got the rights to make a StarCraft game in 2025. I doubt that has anything to do with the shooter, because the shooter long predates the Nexon grab. Now Nexon does specialize in live service games. They made the first Descendant, a looter shooter from 2024. The Dungeon and Fighter beat 'em up RPG series is under their purview as well, and even good old classic MMO MapleStory. So who knows what kind of StarCraft game they're going to be making. But as for the shooter to be revealed at BlizzCon 2026, well, we did have some job postings pop up in 2024 that may be connected. These job postings were for an unannounced game that would include multi-season story arcs. Like Helldivers, there would be monsters that are interesting, memorable, and challenging, from the initial threats all the way to legendary boss encounters, and it would have a team play core fantasy. Again, not sure that that's actually connected, but who knows. In other news, The Witcher 3 is rumored to be getting a new expansion this May. This is as per a Polish Noble Securities analyst, who said last month that he was expecting to see the next paid add-on for The Witcher 3 release in May 2026, and that it could be priced at around $30. Now, last year, a Polish games insider said that new content for The Witcher 3 was in development at Fool's Theory. That's the studio that CD Projekt Red put to the task of remaking The Witcher 1. Plus, CD Projekt's recent financial report has a comment from the CFO saying that there's a chance new content may release in the coming year, having an impact on financial results. So things are starting to line up. Speculation is that this DLC will be a prologue to The Witcher 4 that bridges the gap between The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 4. And if the price point is indeed $30, that's what Blood and Wine cost, which was a substantial DLC. Now, in addition to this new rumored DLC and The Witcher 1 remake, we know that CD Projekt is also working on The Witcher 4, plus a multiplayer game set in the Witcher universe. Then in some Wolfenstein news, Kotaku and Jez Corden independently confirmed that Wolfenstein 3 is in development. Machine Games is working on it, who made 2024's highly successful Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and prior to that they had spent a decade making a trilogy of Wolfenstein games, so they're no strangers to the franchise. Separately, there's a live-action Wolfenstein TV series in the works for Amazon Prime. And lastly, industry news continues to be dire for anyone looking to purchase PC gaming hardware in the near future. Asus has announced price hikes this week, citing the era of AI-driven computing as a major reason for volatility in global supply chains, which puts pressure on costs for key components, particularly memory and storage. Asus calls this an industry-wide challenge. And honestly, this is going to hit the console market as well, and probably phones too, and anything that has RAM in it, which is a lot of things. I mean, things are already so bad that a major electronics store in Japan is putting out a message to customers to please sell them their old PCs if they buy a new one. They are out of stock. They posted like images of like empty shelves. They are willing to buy used PC hardware at pretty high prices. Here's the thing, folks. Our infrastructure was not prepared for the AI race. Business and gaming computing has been developing at a predictable pace over the decades, and then out of nowhere, in comes AI putting a sudden huge demand on the market, and manufacturers are just not set up to meet that demand. So either the AI bubble bursts, which I doubt will happen, because at this point, it really is an arms race amongst the wealthiest organizations in the world, or it's going to take years to recover from this. But what do you folks think? Now folks, if you missed my video covering how retention has hit unprecedented levels in Diablo 4, do check that out, because that's going to wrap up this week's video. Thanks for watching, special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.